Hi guys, I'm EVM, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Mercedes EQC, the first full electric car from the big German brand. Now for me, a car like this is all about expectation. It costs 65 grand and north of that, so I would expect this car to be brilliant on almost every scale. So have they done a brilliant EV of Mercedes, or have they done an Audi and it's just basically a compromise petrol adaptation? Okay, let's have a look outside it, inside it, and then take it for a spin. There is one thing which some people will like very much on this car, and that's this here, the big Mercedes badge, to let everybody know how well you're doing. Overall, I would say that I would get it in a darker colour personally. It's not as big in the flesh as it probably looks on screen, but don't get me wrong, it is still a large car. I can't say I'm enamoured with it in terms of looks. They've gone for the kind of SUV sports coupe approach, so it tapers down at the back, which means not that much headroom for people in the rear, but it is a decent sized car, so it should have a large boot. But before I look in the boot, actually, the rear of it, it's a standard SUV approach. I quite like the red bar across the back, but a bit nondescript, like every other SUV on the road. So let's have a look inside it. Well, it's pretty deep. I'm not sure how much you can make out there. It's a deep one. Let's see what we've got underneath here. Not a lot of space, but you can get your charging cables. So that for me is not brilliant. A little bit disappointing there on the practicality scale. Now I haven't got a Harry or a Simon, unfortunately, once more. So I would say that there's definitely a 1.5 Harry, 1 Simon approach sort of boot. Yeah, so the looks are a bit meh for me. Not that impressed. I personally think the I-Pace is a better looking car than this, although I would probably choose this in terms of looks anyway over the Audi e-tron. Ugh, let's have a look inside this thing because I'm getting wet through. Ooh. Right, well, as you can imagine, the steering wheel feels beautiful. Very, very nice. I like all that, even though it's upside down. Let me turn the car on so I can actually get the steering wheel facing the right way. There we go. HD display, which is beautiful again. That is a really, really nice, very, very clear display. And this touchscreen here, which again is spot on. I really like that. I like the fact that it's quick to touch, and if you press this touchpad down here, that moves that over there as well. So that's quite clever. Right, so on to the rest of it. There are a few weird touches, like this bit here. I'm not sure what this tree's grey to bits for. It looks quite nice, but it's a bit strange. Now this particular version is fully spec, so it's got absolutely everything on it. You've got leather all over the place, really nice finishes. Obviously you can move the seats, bolsters, everything. Now they've got this kind of weird material. It's not leather, I don't know how to describe it really. It feels almost like a wetsuit. And it's also on the dash here. It's nice, I like it, don't get me wrong, and it feels tougher, weirdly, than leather, which is very strange. Immaculately put together. Even these, I'm not sure about the rose gold bit there, unless someone's clearly an iPhone fan, but yeah, it's spotless in terms of interior quality. I cannot complain. Although, actually, that's ooh, look at that, ooh, squeezy squeeze. That's a bit cheap there, that bit. I suppose I can forgive it that. So yeah, brilliant display, and I have to say it doesn't feel as big as the car suggests it does. Now if you move on to these actual buttons, which is great, I love buttons. Something you can touch whilst you're driving without having to take your eyes off the road. Now if I go back a bit, you can see from the reflection, black gloss, the thing I hate the most. Under there you've got some cup holders and a fairly deep bit for your phone as long as a charger, but you can probably tell in this car, which isn't that old, it's already full of fingerprints, dust, and this bit here where you're going to rest your hand on, and I don't have a watch, but imagine someone's got a watch. Scratchy, scratchy, scratchy. So yeah, that bit for me is a little bit of a, it looks good in a brochure but not so much in the real world. The rest of it, however, immaculate. Go down here and press that button. Nice bit of storage there. Ooh, Mercedes have left me a cable for them. Brilliant. The seats, as you would imagine, are immensely comfortable, very sportive, without being too sporty, and obviously what you'd expect of such a high-end machine such as this. Overall, this is a very nice place to be. I would definitely elevate it over the e-tron, and probably the I-Pace as well, with the exception of this massive gloss black thing here. But the infotainment unit is definitely the best out of the bunch that I've just mentioned there. And proper buttons, for me, are better than Tesla's all touchscreen affair, but I know you will get used to that. Let's jump in the back and see how much room people have there. Turn the car off. Okay, now that chair is quite far back for someone who's about 6 foot. Let me just close the door. So not a huge amount of space there, guys. You can fit your feet underneath, although not fully width, so you can't man spread. So there's not a huge amount of space. So like I said, this seat is in the position for someone quite tall. There's just about enough room, but not that much if I'm honest. The rear bench is kind of useless for the middle bit. So I think more people would probably have it in this configuration, like a 2+2. But with a car this size, you would expect it to be a little bit more practical. And look at that, it's a transmission tunnel. I'll come back to that in a bit. I quite like what Tesla do with their, touchscreen sort of approach, but sometimes it would be nice to have some physical buttons. It's got a beautiful heads-up display. Now the car I'm in is fully loaded, as you can imagine, given it's from Mercedes themselves. So it's got everything on it. And I think you're looking at around about £75,000 price tag. Hello?
What do you want to do?
Nothing.
Can you say that again, please?
Nothing.
What can I do for you?
Go away. It's got the Alexa equivalent, and I'll set yours off instead of mine. So I can't actually use the word "this Mercedes" because it'll probably pipe up again and say, what do you want? What do you want? What can I do for you? Now, before that piped up, I was going to say that in terms of EV-ness, this is an extremely quiet car. I mean, to another level, as you would expect. Now, this has got about 225 miles of real-world range, which is a fair bit less than Mercedes say. And seems to be a thing that all luxury EV manufacturers are doing at the moment, overestimating its range. Now, it's got 400 brake horsepower, so when I do this, yep, that launches. It's basically halfway between the Jaguar I-Pace, which is a quicker car, and the Audi e-tron, which is a slower car. Until you stood next to it, this car looks a lot bigger. And on the inside, it feels a smaller car than the outside kind of makes you believe it to be. Now, in terms of battery size, this thing has got an 80 kilowatt hour usable battery. So getting 225 miles of real world range out of an 80 kilowatt hour battery, it's not that efficient really, is it? It's certainly not Tesla level of efficiency. I don't know if that'll bother anybody who's in the sort of like segment to buy this type of car. Yeah, I get it, it's going to be heavy, there's big batteries in it, there's a lot of luxury materials, it'll be solid. Well, it is solid, so you've got a lot of weight there, but I expected a little bit better at Mercedes, if I'm honest, out of the range. As I say, this thing is very comfortable, and when you push it, it's very direct. You feel very confident in terms of going around corners. It's not quite at the I-Pace level though. The I-Pace is a better drive than this in terms of a driver's car, if you like. So the I-Pace is definitely better on the sportier front, but this is better than the e-tron in terms of handling department. Again, it's kind of in the middle. It's between the e-tron and the I-Pace. Now, let's talk about compromises, because this is a car which definitely has some compromises. I'll show you now what's underneath the bonnet. And it's basically just a sea of plastic. Look, there's nothing there. So the front end is basically a monumental waste of space. There's no frunk. There's not even a tiny bit. Remember that transmission tunnel that I talked about, which is obviously underneath this centre console, but would stop the middle passenger, if you like, in the rear from putting the feet down? This doesn't have a transmission. Why has it got a transmission tunnel? Because it's a compromised design. It's a modified petrol car. And that has really disappointed me. Mercedes can do better than that. No, I'm not talking to you. Go away, go away. Jesus, that's going to get
I am starting route guidance to Galway.
Galway? I'm not going to Galway, I said go away. How do I... Mercedes? Hello? Stop guidance. Hello, Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Stop guidance.
Cancelling route guidance.
Well, at least that bit works. When you think of the R&D budget that Mercedes have...
How may I help you?
Done it again. Nothing. Cancel. Cancel.
Display is off.
No, I didn't say turn the Oh, for God's sake. That would do my head in. It really would. This car is basically, as I tried to mention 5 times now, a total compromise. Mercedes R&D budget. Oh no, I've done it again. Cancel.
Could you repeat your input, please?
Cancel. The company that makes this car should have a significant R&D budget behind it. And for me, this is a total disappointment. Jaguar have managed to create a full electric vehicle from the ground up. No compromises there. This company, that I can't say for that thing piping up, have just modified one of their existing cars and stuck batteries in it. And I know it's a lot more complicated than that, and it's got some clever technology in terms of the battery will heat itself up, so when you rapid charge on a long run, it will be at the optimum temperature for the fastest charging speeds. So clearly they've put some thought into this, but it's like they've just done an EV for the sake of doing an EV. Why not wait until you can do it properly? It's that expectation. My expectation, as I said, is up here. But in reality, it hasn't met that. It's a brilliant luxury car. It's superbly put together, supremely comfortable. But it's a compromise. This thing is too big. There should be more space in this car because they can push the interior further out towards the wheels. But obviously they can't because there's that massive engine bay to contend with. Think of Jaguar's R&D budget compared to this company's. It's not even close. It's a great car, it's comfortable, perfect on a long run, not the most efficient, not the quickest or the best at handling, but I'd be happy with it. But it could be so much better. It's like when a teacher says, oh, I've got this pupil and he only got 80% on an exam, but he's capable of getting 100. So I'm disappointed in him because he's better than that. He's capable of so much more. And that's what this car should be. Merc are far better than this car is. And that's why I've got a problem with it. So if you're in the market for a luxury EV, would you go for this, the Jaguar I-Pace, the Audi e-tron, or the Tesla Model X? Kind of looking at the SUV EV range anyway. Well, quite frankly, if you like driving and you like, you know what the phrase driver's car is, then I would go for the I-Pace. If you like efficiency and technology, I would go for the Tesla. If you like luxury and comfort and design, I would probably go for this. So it does win out on some categories, but the compromise bugs me, maybe more than it should, but it does bug me. It doesn't have the efficiency of the Tesla or the technology, although it does have good technology, don't get me wrong. It doesn't have the sportiness of the I-Pace, but quite frankly it does beat the e-tron. Absolutely. That was a major disappointment for a car of that value. This is definitely better than the Audi. So I suppose if you don't really care about cars, or you just look at them as a way of getting from A to B, not necessarily you're bad at driving, you're not that interested in cars, then I would probably go for this over the others. I'm lost. I need to get back. Oh, it is very nice and comfortable, is this car. Beautiful. I have to say the rear visibility is not brilliant. You got a reversing camera, of course, but yeah, I've been in better. Right guys, well as usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.